The tip of the iceberg comment I think is interesting as you talk about, hey, you can see this little piece. I think IT is like that in general, right? Like your help desk is kind of like the tip of the iceberg people see. And I talk about this all the time. For those that don't understand what happens in that world, 365 days of the year, you keep everything up and running and moving. People only recognize it that the 30 seconds something doesn't work and they want to know what happened. I think it's there's so much below the surface that's going on every single day. I want to welcome Rajesh Kapoor to the episode. Hi, Rajesh.
Hey, Brad. So first of all, thanks for inviting me to this podcast. Really excited to come here and share the ideas and the new technologies, things we are working for the company. There's so much going on. So in IT, traditionally, we do still the traditional work of doing the help desk, support desk, making the communication happen across the company, connecting the job sites, doing the DR systems, backup, recovery. On the application side, we talk about all the SAP supports and enhancements, business intelligence, SharePoint, and those type of support services. But what is new for us is we are doing these services with the new technology in mind and in a complete alignment with the business strategy. So what has happened over the period of times that my role in IT has changed from a technology gatekeeper into more of a growth enabler.
Yes. I think that's exciting, and I think that's a big reason why we focused on kind of where we're headed and bringing. I know for a while there you talked about anything that you developed, you wanted it to be mobile first, and I think we've evolved that now to field first. And so I think with some of the things we've done around here, it's like, how do we get information in the hands of the people in the field that need it and into our customers' hands? Exactly. And I think one of the things that we've done recently that has allowed for that is a very successful ERP upgrade. Maybe talk a little bit about it. I mean, you've been through several ERP upgrades. And I know people out there listening, often shudder when they hear the word, ERP, change, upgrade, anything like that. You've been through a number of them. Why was it important for us to do it at this time? Sure. And how did you, by all accounts, extremely successful implementation. How did you manage that?
So let's talk about why.
Yes.
I think that's a big question. So we went with SAP live with 2009. And if you look at a time of 2009, 2010, when we went live with the original SAP product, there was no cloud. There were no mobility. Mobility was there, a little bit iPad coming into play. There was no role of, if you look at the communication between the software, the user interface at its best was not there. So all of a sudden between 2009, 2010 into 2022, there had been a huge change in the marketplace. And we all noticed that all these new market forces came into play. So when you look at SAP, you can think about SAP as a big ship moving forward with some kind of a grit. And what has happened is that we were not able to use these market forces which will make software like SAP like a sailboat. Mm-hmm. So these market forces allow us to use new technology and make SAP software more like a sailboat where we can navigate easily.
Oh.
So that is the reason how to use cloud, mobility, new user interface, software communication. That's what led us to this direction.
Okay, and so SAP is our ERP system. That's the backbone of all our financials, things like that. What was this implementation going to HANA? Like everyone hears about HANA around here internally. What does that really mean?
So where our data was sitting was with a third party here in Ohio. And the big change we were trying to make is take this data from a privately owned data center into a hyperscaler. And that is the biggest change, because once your data is then in the hyperscaler cloud environment, then you can actually do a lot more things which are happening overall in the marketplace.
Yeah, I hear it. So this is like the on-prem versus in the cloud, right? I mean, I hear a lot about this. And in our decision to move from on-prem to the cloud is what you're describing. It gave us so much more flexibility and scalability.
Exactly. That was the whole idea. And how do you use the innovation happening in the marketplace? You think about Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, or Microsoft Azure. There are these big three hyperscalers, and where all the innovation is happening. So that made perfect sense for us to move from on-prem third-party data center into a public cloud. And now, in our case, even though it's a public cloud, we have our own area carved out. So it's a private cloud edition in this hyperscaler. So our data is not being shared with anyone. We have a private cloud inside these hyperscalers.
I mean, I'm sure one of the initial things as you were evaluating this was security. Moving it out of our servers, here on campus.
Sure.
How did you get comfortable with that?
So basically, we went through a very thorough examination on what kind of software security does Microsoft Azure provides. And they checked all the boxes as far as the security is concerned. The physical security, the security on updating the servers timely, because they have this fleet of engineers who are constantly monitoring our servers. So if there is a patch there, we don't have to worry about it.
Where we used to have to do that ourselves?
Exactly. That is the biggest change.
Gotcha. So if you're maybe, mid-size or maybe a smaller construction company, you would say, hey, if you don't have a large IT staff, you should really think about being in the cloud because the level of service and the attention that you're getting automatically.
Absolutely. And also the administration, which we used to do manually, has gone into the hands of SAP. So now we don't have to focus on server or admin. We can focus on what it matters to the business, what it matters to the construction, and run our company more with the technology it needs at this point of time.
So what do you think that people need? What have we done over the last year to deliver information in the hands of our customers and into our people in the field?
So that's a great question, Brad. That whole HANA database and S4 HANA system opens what we call as a REST API. So if you want to talk to a customer third-party system, if you want to talk to an interactive voice response system, that system opens it.
Or I guess a lot of other construction technologies that are being invented out there, it allows us then to explore other technologies and allow it to fit into our ecosystem, correct?
Exactly. That's what it does too. So where you have a document control system where all the customer drawings are coming, now how do you take the drawings and pull it out of that system and bring it to maybe into SAP if you want, or make it into the what we call it is our data or cloud AI platforms. So now you are basically at one place where you can collect all the information from diverse sources and bring it together for our next use, whether it's analytics, predictive modeling, or AI.
So Rajesh, as we undertook the big S4 HANA implementation, so we've had SAP for a number of years. We did that big ERP switch and upgrade. You were a part of that, obviously. And as you talked about earlier in the episode, it was necessary for us to move to this S4 HANA platform to allow for mobility and analyzing more data, all the stuff that goes along with it. That process you mentioned took about 9 months to do. How did you manage internally? You got to run a current system, and then you're moving to this upgraded system, and there's like a lot of change that comes with that on the back end. So how did you make sure that we were rolling that out effectively, that we handled that change management in a way that didn't stop the business? I mean, you know as well as I do, if we miss, one paycheck to a union employee, you're going to get a grievance. And we had zero issues at all, which is unheard of in my mind. I mean, I talk to a lot of people in the industry. It's something that you should be very proud of because it doesn't happen very often. So how did you manage that? How did you tackle that?
Great question. I think the team is the biggest part of it.
Yes.
And a lot of planning went into it. Mm-hmm. So as we are running our business, what we did is we raised 4 different servers on the HANA side of it. And we did a 4-level of very detailed cycle testing. We took all the software, we upgraded it, we fixed all the programming changes because of the HANA, and then we went to the next level. We tested in a quality system. Then we tested in a pseudo production system. And to make this whole change successful, we actually did a mock conversion. So all of our month-end process, and you know how month-end is important to us.
Oh, yes.
The revenue recognition is such a critical part. We did a complete mock conversion a week prior to the live production. And when it comes to the change management, which is such an important aspect of it, the training took a lot of time. So we have dedicated people from each regional offices being kind of a train-the-trainer type thing. They understood champions. They understood the software. They understood the change. And everybody went through a decent amount of training on how the new system looks like, where the changes are, what to expect. And when the big day came in, the timing was perfect. So we did it right before the Thanksgiving weekend. Unfortunately, some of the IT and the business people had to work through that time. But that was a perfect time. When the business pretty much was not happening, we took that opportunity window for 4 days, and we did the complete conversion on 4th day. So when everybody came on a Monday, the system was ready to go. People were trained about it. They knew what to expect in the change. And then there were small password-related hiccups, which we were ready to do, and we deploy a lot of people on the help desk to answer those questions.
Right.
So
I remember that you really beefed up the staff.
Yeah,
to make sure that, hey, if there's any calls, we're here.
Absolutely. And a lot of people in those regional offices and job sites, they supported the business. Shop floor systems worked as they expected because people were aware of what to expect. And if the things go wrong, who to call and what change can be expected. So I think we as a company spend a lot of time and energy on that change management, training, and the expectation were set right before we go live. So I think it's just a great teamwork there.
Wow, that's awesome. Very successful project.
Yeah.
So this was a necessary change for a number of reasons, but it is now, because we took those steps, it set us up for all kinds of advancements, allowing us to use different kind of tools in the marketplace, take that data and look at it in different ways. We're able to crunch just such a vast amount of information, whereas before we had some limitations on that. So I think it's exciting the way now we're thinking about our data in a completely different way than we were. Now we've always, you did a nice job early on, as we talked about, setting up fields and making sure we were tracking and things like that. But now that we have this tool, we can have things looking at it differently and seeing correlations and connections that we never really even thought about.
Yeah, that's true. So let me give you a great analogy here. Think about any software solution as an iceberg model. Mm-hmm. You have things which are visible to you, and there is whole things of things which are underneath it. Mm-hmm. So in our case, our long-term thought process, our mental models or beliefs are cash is the king. Or in your case, you always talk about transparency to the customer. Right. So let's talk about the cash situation here first for a second. We know that we have to take the advantage of vendor invoicing and cash discounts. Before we went to S/4HANA, we had no way to look at how much cash discount we are leaving on the table. Now, that is the part which is visible, that we are not getting the cash discounts. That part becomes very much visible with S/4HANA. But if you look at the underlying architecture of that, how do you fix it? That's where the robustness of these ERP systems come into play, that we can implement a vendor invoice management system. The invoice can come from vendors, which was pretty much going everywhere before that. It is going to the job sites, going to go to the regional offices. Now it all coming at one place. It hits the inbox, and from there, depends upon what you need. Do you need it to send it to the job site for approval, or it's a no-touch straight to the accounts payable? When these underlying architecture allow you to do that, you can actually make use of these things, and cash discount is a great example.
Well, I can think of so many, advantages that come out of just that single solution there. When you talk about, being able to pay your vendors faster,
absolutely,
being able to, get the customer the information they need quicker, right, not bogging down 20 people within our internal organization, passing things back and forth. I mean, it's natural when you have a large organization. Bills go to the wrong place, things end up in the wrong spot, and it takes someone a while to figure out where it belongs. In this situation, in this new system, That's all handled.
Exactly. So that's the reason we as a company invested in these advanced softwares, so we can make use of all the advanced technologies. The OCR, which makes all this invoicing works, that's at the center stage of it. So we, as a company, our accounts payable department, our finance department, our vendors came into play all together as a team as a part of this implementation. And along with this S4 successful, we had a very successful implementation of the vendor invoice management. A lot of companies I have talked to are struggling with put that thing in place. So I think I am so proud of what our team in the S4 HANA implementation, our end users who came to participate in the testing, and everyone who participated in this thing. The complexity is to the next level. So think about in S4 HANA implementation, it's a 9 months implementation. We were dealing with SAP consultants from 9 different countries.
Oh my goodness.
Time zones, language barriers, plus on top of it, because the underlying change was such a big change that we had modified close to 2,000 programming and tables to make this whole thing work. But in the end, it was all worth doing it because now we can see the results in terms of the cash applications and the other applications.
And that brings me to thinking about like cybersecurity and what we're doing around that to make sure that we're keeping not only our employees and our information safe, but also our customers' information safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So recently we had been working with a couple of very good partners in the area driving this innovation around the cybersecurity. And we have put in place for endpoint security. So where endpoint could be your laptops, it could be your phone systems, it could be your iPads, and also your server level security. And then you put the sensors on your servers and your endpoint, so if anything malicious seems to have happening, we get the alerts on it. And we also put multi-factor authentication, and now from the multi-factor authentication, we have to go back and advance into more like an app-level authenticator. So our idea is that nobody should be able to get into our system, whether it's at the Windows level, at the emailing level, or at the application software level. So we take that security very seriously, and we have taken a lot of measures to keep customer, employee, and vendor data safe.
You know, you talked about the REST APIs and the way we're able now to talk with our customer systems and things like that. And we obviously have a large part of our business that is T&M billing. And so you're talking about, you know, daily timekeeping, large volumes of information, and everyone needs to know where their job is. Talk about what we've been able to do as far as creating dashboards, not only for our employees, but for our customers, how we're sharing that information, how we're being transparent, and how we're trying to get that in the hands of our customers faster, quicker, so they can make better decisions.
Yeah, and I know, Brad, this is close to your heart.
Yes.
The transparency and the ease with which customer can access the data is got a great importance for you, just being in your role as a chief growth officer, and that's what we bring it to the marketplace. So what I think that what we have done in the T&M marketplace, we have raised a bar for ourselves. And I would say that we have raised a bar for the entire industry, the way we brought these tools to the marketplace. The biggest thing which excites me about this is that we can talk to the customer systems through the REST API and exchange the information. And now not every customer is the same. So some customers don't have that level of sophistication. So what we do on the Enerfab side is we open up our system to the customer through a website. And the biggest part is that customer can actually look at where they are in their spend, on their cost, on a release level, on a project level, and as low as a work order level. So they know exactly where they are spending the money, so they can move the budget. What it does for us from the Enerfab side is because customer can get the information almost 3 weeks to a month before an invoice hits them.
Right.
Think about that.
Right.
How much useful it is for a customer to know that they are going to go above the budget on a work order or a release, or they can save the money on this work order and they can move the money to a different place. And when that happens, the changes which normally occurs in a construction industry, that customer is moving the budget at a later date, that all goes away.
Right.
So the changes are so minimal at our level that our payroll changes actually get reduced in the same process.
Wow. And ultimately, you know, that means we can deliver for our customers, you know, more efficiently lower cost. We continue to kind of invest in these tools to make sure that we're staying on the cutting edge of, T&M isn't like you don't think of that as like a sexy part of the business, just doing timekeeping, but there's so much involved with that and so much process and so much chance for error, so much chance for delay in the process, and we've lived it. And nobody wants that. We want to be able to give our customers information quickly. We want them to know exactly where they're on their projects so that they don't have any surprises, because surprises aren't good for either one of us. We don't make money on surprises. And so, then we're on the back end trying to figure it out with them. How do we, how do they pay us for things? How do they still take care of their needs? This way they have the information, they're making real-time decisions. They can shift budgets on the fly during a critical outage if they need to, if they have a piece of equipment under inspection that suddenly needs a lot more work than they realized before we opened up the equipment or whatever. They can make those decisions now. We can be part of that process, and we're enabling them to be able to make those right and smart choices.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest part about that. The customer gets so much advantage to coming to these places. Now, you can always enhance. Once we have this platform for the customer, we can deliver them the invoices, we can deliver them the MTR letters, we can deliver them a lot more information, gate logs.
Yes.
If people are not happy at what time the employees are coming, as a part of our transparency, as people come in, and we have these advanced tools in clock in, clock out system, our inbuilt tools, whereas people come inside the company, we can actually know exactly what time they come in, what time they left, and if the customer wants to see that, those logs would be available to the customer on the website. So again, transparency, accuracy, and us and the customer on the same page. When it comes to the cost, it's right there.
It's an interesting. So I want to talk. Maybe back up a little and talk about construction in general. We're never really known for cutting edge technology. We joke kind of like, I think there's an old joke about Cincinnati. Mark Twain said, Cincinnati is 10 years behind the rest. I think construction's in the same boat, right? Yeah. If banking industry is working on something or healthcare is working on something, it takes a while for that to make it to the construction industry historically. But I don't feel like the construction's like that anymore. Yeah. I think that there's so much need for these changes in technology, and people are wanting it. But part of the problem is you go to these new job sites and you're building a greenfield site. It always seems like the internet is the last thing to go in. Well, all these tools that not only we want to drive efficiency and transparency and productivity and safety and all the things, our customers want too. Yet for whatever reason, it seems like the internet's the last thing to get installed on these sites. So we've had a heck of a challenge, and I think it's been a universal industry challenge. Yeah. Talk about how we've kind of mitigated that through the use of Starlink, and how that's kind of changed the way we've been able to deliver information to our job sites and to our customers.
I think the Starlinks had been such a great innovation, and we basically went into the wait listing. So as soon as they opened up, we kind of signed up for it.
Oh, I remember. I remember we were shooting emails around. Did you hear about the Starlink thing coming?
Yeah.
We got to get on the list,
And we did. And we did. And we
were
one of the first companies to get the Starlink. So the innovation had been so powerful and so meaningful, because as the cybersecurity comes into play, the owners becoming more restrictive to giving access to their network. Mm-hmm. And if they are giving access, it's being shared with 10 different other contractors on the job site. So for us to move forward, an innovation like Starlink had been so great, and we basically, with Starlink, what used to take 3 months itself for a big telecom company to show to the job site and then start from there, it's a 2 weeks process now. These Starlink satellites don't even come to our corporate office in Cincinnati. We drop ship at the job site, they plug and play, and they're in business. Wow. And the cost is 1/4 what we pay. And the innovation had been so great that we can launch more products to the job site. Accessing the drawings, accessing the SAP, SharePoint, and all construction software becomes so much more viable and easy with Starlink. It's just been an amazing journey there.
Right. It goes back to kind of our mission, field first, getting this information in the hands of the people that need it. And why we do that, it's like, there's so much time wasted on job sites, walking back to the office, looking up information. How do we get it in their hands quickly? How do they can see the updated drawing immediately? I know we're making a major investment in Procore. Sure. That's probably going to be a big help with us in delivering those documents, in a mobile application to the field first. With this power, with this technology, with all the advancements happening, obviously everyone's talking about artificial intelligence, AI. Is it RAG AI? Is it Gen AI? What we've learned so much in the last 2 years. How do you think AI is going to affect, shape, change the construction industry, and what are you thinking about it?
So, like everyone else, we are also trying to explore what AI can do for us and construction in general. The good part with that is that we made some progress in that area. So I think the biggest change is going to do is once you get to the right platform, it has a lot of things it can do for you. The number one which comes to my mind is, for example, Google and Google's Gemini and Google's Vertex AI. They have these great tools called Document AI. So you can take these drawings and run through this and get information out of these drawings. And then you can use that information whichever way you want. That's one part of it. The second part on AI, especially in these machine learning models, is that if you look at it, we have the data for whether it's a firm price or a T&M job, whether it's a procurement or the billing. We have all this data stored in our database. So can we run this data through these machine learning models and do some predictive analytics on it? That's a huge part of it. We can predict if the project is going to be late, is going to run over cost, when we would need more labor, what type of labor would be needed as we go along with that. Then the third part in this one is a computer vision. So now there's a concept of multimodal. Earlier you would do a text to text. You write something in ChatGPT, it's going to reply back to you. But if you go to ChatGPT now, you can say, draw a picture for me or create a video for me. It's text, it's video, and it's picture together. So now imagine that we can take the video of a job site and run through an AI model and try to find out if the people are following the right safety protocols or not, if they are wearing the hard hats or not, if the safety goggles or not, or anything related to the safety can have a huge impact running these video generated through the AI.
As we keep exploring this, and a big piece is getting our data in the right spots and organized. I know you're spending a lot of time around kind of our data strategy, which lends into a lot of this. But a lot of these tools and the HANA upgrade is allowing you to think that way now and explore those type of things. I think that getting information quicker. It's the things heard all kinds of conversation around this. Some people are obviously worried AI takes away jobs. But what I think it can do is take away the meaningless stuff, the stuff that nobody wants to do anyways that's necessary. Yeah. Those mundane tasks, those things that take time. It's the search, it's the comparison, it's the finding the information that you've already thought and written before, accessing it quicker, and then, like you said, looking at things differently, making analysis and connecting dots that maybe we had concept around or maybe kind of thought about but didn't really know, and it's kind of shedding a light on different things. So what do you think is next for us from a technology standpoint?
Yeah, I think that whole data strategy of building a very robust team of people with the right skill set. Once that is there, then quality of data is important. We will work very closely on how to do the quality of the data. That's extremely important. Choosing the right platform is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And you and I had several meetings with so many other people, and picking the right platform, that's an important part. But when that's all said and done, what it's going to do for our users is that they would be able to make the decisions from that data. Mm-hmm. So what we call is the data-driven decisions. That's going to come into the hands of people. That's going to be one most important thing. And then
what's a simple example of that? Like someone in accounting could type in and get some give me some sort of example.
So the data-driven decisions is that, let's say you want to know when I build a customer list. Okay. Now, first of all, can you rely on that information? So when the data comes from this ERP system, your scheduling system, can people rely on that one? So once they are comfortable and say, yeah, this data is right, that's going to build the data culture in the company. So From IT side, it's our responsibility to make sure that the data which is going into the hands of the user, whether it's a data through a very fixed report, it's a data through a BI platform, or it's a data through a generative AI. If that data is accurate, then user can actually rely on the data and make the decisions based on that data.
Mm-hmm. I was just sitting here thinking, if you're not from our industry, and I don't know what people think because I just lived it my whole life, but I mean, my gut is they don't think about IT, they don't think about technology 100% when they think about construction. I think people will be shocked to understand our technology stack, right, wrong, or indifferent. How large is a mid-level construction company's technology stack?
It is pretty large. Now, in this conversation, if you talked about, we talked about Azure, we talked about GCP, we talked about Procore, we talked about Primavera P6, we talked about SharePoint, we talked about Excel,
Salesforce.
SAP, Salesforce, you name it.
And those are all the things we use on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
We want them all to talk, and we want the data to be accurate in the systems.
And that's the hardest part.
My gut is just like, if you were from the outside, you would just be shocked to hear that.
It's just too much data. And then on top of it, you bring the mobility, you bring the iPads. What has happened in our company, and we try to keep up with the pace and a little bit ahead of the curve, if you think about it. In last 3 months itself, our IT department has issued more than 100 iPads to different field jobs.
In just the last month?
Yeah, just on our big projects. It's just how much technology we are moving out.
Right.
So then the burden back on us is to track those assets, make sure that if they are lost, the data is wiped out from there. So the technology adds more work just to keep it safe and secure. So it just keeps adding to our portfolio,
well,
if you say so.
I guess it's good job security. That's one way to look at it.
Just serving the customers and then just making the company safe. Yeah.
I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you very much, Brad, for having me on this one. So I would just close one thing before we close this podcast is that we are working on a very modern data platform. So a takeaway for our listeners and viewers for this is we are working on some very advanced technologies and a modern data platform which would allow our company and across the board within the company, different part of the organization, to make the data-driven decisions. So I'm very excited for that. And again, thanks for the chance today.
Well, thanks for being here. Well, that wraps up the latest episode of Building Smarter Projects. We hope you found it insightful, and please tune in next time. Thanks a lot.